Vice Minister of Education. Oh no, she's not coming from Tsinghua, but she taught in Tsinghua, right? Yeah, it's next girl, one of the alumni of the university. Used to be residential. But then she deflected. She went to Taiwan and studied in Taiwan University. So I would like to give the best discussion Dr. Hutabarat. Well, thank you very much for the willingness to come here and share.
Thank you, sir. Terima kasih, Laoshi Jo. Actually, Laoshi Jo is my senior in Universitas Indonesia. So I'm not a stranger, okay? And UPH, Universitas Hutabarat also quite familiar with him. And today is my honor to have the opportunity to present my presentation entitled Study on Nusantara Kingdoms and Chinese Dynasties, Socio-Historical Approach. This presentation actually is the continuation of my previous presentation in Universitas Indonesia within the same, not same, but similar title, Study on Nusantara Kingdoms and Chinese Dynasties from the historical maritime approach. As mentioned by Laoshi Jo earlier, I'm a functional diplomat, certified international level in Foreign Ministry of Indonesia. And I got my Ph.D. in interpretation and translation of Indonesian English into Mandarin and into Indonesian English. I'm also a sinologist, an author of a book, Penerjemahan Bahasa Mandarin Foreign Diplomacy Economy, or Mandarin Chinese translation on academic diplomacy for the and its structure and also the research project. Anyone knows what analysis is? Please raise your hand. The next is
correlated to China.
yes, I know it's related to China or China topics, China issues, and this is the specialist in the China issues. Okay. Let's begin. Before I begin my presentation on this topic, I noticed that there is already one place I remember from the records for half 2004, while the others you have heard about my presentation at Oxford about education of historical changes. If not, then it's better for us to reconnect with this talks first, because it's the continuation from the first talk. As you can see, the above picture is the kingdom of Sriwijaya in the middle of Jawa, somewhere in Sumatera. The second picture, the picture below it is the Tang Dynasty. So it's quite different, but almost the same picture, right? Has this historical history background and full of richness in the tradition. So let's connect to the video of my talks first. It only takes about 15 minutes more or less. And I have two challenges for you. And I also have gifts from for two of you. So better listen to it carefully, thoroughly, and answer my next two questions on it.
friendship, cooperation as agreed by the United Nations in 1945 by their 5 permanent members, China, France, Russia, UK, and the United States. In this globalization era, in which or interdependency exists, I'd like to let us consider and draw on inspiration from a thinker. His ideas, despite concerning his political views embedded within, and despite his government system, he delivered his ideas about, first, Xi Jinping, 起为来. Second, 知府治国的务实为始. And the third, 万物革得其可以是，革得其样以成. So Mandarin Chinese itself emphasizes on the verb rather than the noun, because the verb indicates the relationships. The verb is 学, to learn, 起, to enlighten, 治, to govern, and 富, to prosper. Mandarin Chinese also have context first, then followed by the subject. The contexts are, first, peace to grow, and the second, cultivate to develop. This figure spanned over 22 years of his leadership service in 2 provinces of southern China that are robust in their economic growth. They are Zhejiang and Fujian provinces. And they make the history up to now that we call it simple economic growth. I'd like to close with a call for us. Let's think about it. Think about it together, creatively, and come up with a policy recommendation for the future. This might be a historical change. This might be a way to provide inspirations and opportunities for regional and parts of the world. Thank you.
I have questions to share with this actually. The first one, what are the first 3 kingdoms in Nusantara and what else? The first 3 kingdoms in Nusantara. And the second one, what are the strategic roles of strategic kingdom? And what? Nusantara is Kutai, Tarumanagara, Sriwijaya. As you can see from this chronological timetable, Chinese civilization started since 2,000 years ago. Wow. The Nusantara kingdoms has its first kingdom by the name of Kutai in 1999, or the 4th century. The Kutai, the first kingdom, is in Kalimantan Timur, or East Kalimantan. second kingdom is in Java Island. The third one is in Sumatra Island. So it's very diverse. Scattered in Borneo, Kalimantan, Java, and Sumatra. And they are also diverse in their types. Some of them are the agriculture, some of them are the maritime, some of them focusing on the agriculture, of course, and the other is on the trading, maritime trading sectors. Okay, so we have already connected each other with these topics. I mean, history, according to a distinguished and prominent figure in China, is the best teacher in our conference to explain the historical event. It was also mentioned by Taipei Emperor. Emperor of Han Dynasty mentioned this classical saying. The first one, use someone as mirror or lens. He or she can tell you the truth. Second one, use bronze as mirror or lens. And it can provide you with an opportunity so that you can tidy up your suits. And the third one, use history as a mirror or lens so that we can predict the future. Do you want to agree with this classical saying? So we can see it later in my final presentation whether or not we can predict the future. We're not trying to predicting without any consideration or analysis, of course. So my presentation outline is based on this historiography, social historiography. Yeah. The most important thing, it consists of past, present, and future. But we will begin with the present. What I mean by present is that an event that maybe already happened in the past, but less than 10 years. So it's not an ancient old one. After we know what happened in this present era, then we will look back to the history to predict the future. Although there is already a book mentioned about the world in 2050. The world will face many challenges, including the scarcity of energy, pure water, clean water, and also the scarcity of livestock and crops. To analyze this, based on historiography, we have to collect the data, the evidence. Second one, the chronological timetable. And the second one, we have to analyze it through the line or linear or the cycle, historical cycle. We will use that to identify the problem first. After we identify the problem, then we can get the conclusion. What's the problem actually? Well, as a case study, I will take an event happened in 2016 of this tradition of using as the problem. But then, before that, I have to make clear of some points that I will analyze it through the scope of sinologists and diplomat classes. What is that? What are they? There are two Mandarin Chinese languages, history, culture, literature, including classics, poems, and novels, etc. These four fields, they are all learned by all the sinologists, especially in the Universitas of Indonesia. And if you include excluding these four other, the first one is the periods. the periods started from the Kutai, the first kingdom in Nusantara, up to Sriwijaya only. Or from Xia Dynasty to Tang Dynasty only. Tang Dynasty only. So my analysis will not include the periods of Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing. It will not also include Majapahit kingdoms because there are so many research about it already. Yeah. The second one, it will exclude the ASEAN aspects, the regional aspects. It will only discuss about bilateral Indonesia and the second part and the other part. Why? Because it's a very complex one if we include the ASEAN in this discussion and analysis. The third one excludes in my analysis is the international law because I have no background on law, on international law, and the archaeology. It's a very diverse and complex one. So we clear already, right? About what includes and what excludes in my analysis. I have mentioned earlier about this event, this problem, traditional FISIP. Why? Why it's a problem? Because for several times there are claims on this specific phrase, traditional FISIP, for years. We can retrieve it for many online websites. But actually, it is tension, not the numbers. Why I said so? Because as you can see, 2016, there were about more than 500 ships that were being seized in Indonesia's economic exclusive zone, or EZ. 294 ships from Vietnam, 92 ships from Philippines, 72 ships from Malaysia, and they're also from Thailand, from New Guinea, and also from China. Only one from China. But it creates tension. Why? Because at that time, the seizing process of China's fishermen ship by the Indonesian Coast Guard was being blocked by China's Coast Guard. So what is exactly the problem is? Here, you can see from this circle, the first circle, there's no problem. The problem happened in the second circle. Circle of economic influence, sphere of economic influence here. Especially in here. It's related to transportation, resources stocks, fishery stocks, tourism, and also geopolitics, including tariffs for countries' income. Now let's move on to the historiography. What is exactly historiography according to theoretical explanation? It is a scientific writing of history. Accordingly, in historiographic context, don't forget the context. Or it can also be said as a narrative explanation. To get this explanation, you have to collect the data first, the evidence, the chronology, investigate it, and analyze it. So that's the process. Here, the first one, the data. Yeah. The president of Indonesia said, oh, it's against the claim. It's against the claim. It should be based on the international law. The advisor said it's criticized the part of the claim. And the spokesperson said, no, it's not the same as the Sunshine Sea issue, or the 10-9-9, then 9 dotted lines different. The other
party say 最早的做什么？发现、命名、开发、观察。最早的 the earliest, and this statement was also reiterated by 11 ambassadors. The ambassadors, as uploaded in Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs websites, uploaded similar statements. They were in Chile, Egypt, Barbados, India, New Zealand, East Africa, Iceland, Argentina, Munich of Germany, Botswana, and Yemen. One public lecture by its ambassador in Eritrea of East Africa even said 南海主要是中国领土，中国的南海诸岛及其附近海域拥有无可争辩的主权。Basically, reflected all the lectures content. South Sea Islands is of China's territories. China has indisputable sovereignty over South Sea Islands and its surrounding waters. Yeah, but we can see from 2000 years of history, based on historical facts, this historization of history is indisputable. Is that so? When I spent Lebaran holiday with my mom, we went by tour to southern China. I went to a bookstore, also a maritime museum, and I bought this book. In this book, it is clear that whether it is still disputable. So it's the internal of this curriculum for senior high school textbooks, and the statement is contradictory. And we can see this document saying arbitrarily ruling is illegal, void. So if we talk about sovereignty, each and every country has their own claim. Or in Chinese classical saying, 多说不有理，多说不有理. But based on the data from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs online websites, there are about 386 articles, news, and OFA statements in the period of 2000-2024 mentioned about South China Sea. And 27 out of 386 in the period of 2000-2023, or 40.3% of them, mentioned about ASEAN and South China Sea. But there is any single mention about Natuna or Indonesian South China Sea. Zero. The data is zero if we talk about that. Now we move to the chronology, because these stories are told. Ketika kemarin kita lupa, hari ini kita terlena, dan ketika esok kita tidak merencanakan, maka waktu adalah tirani. Sejarah negeriku akan menceritakan. Kisah leoparkan mereka akan tahu. If we forget about yesterday, and we don't even think or we live at the moment, and we don't make plan for tomorrow, for the future, then time is the tyrant. Therefore, I have to talk
story of my country, the history of my country, so that they will know about the story through the mother tongue, through the sea. This is also the aim or the scope here. The research analysis will touch upon these four aspects. The four verbs mentioned by the early author. The first and the second one will be highlighted in this presentation, and the third and the fourth, or the second last, will be already presented by me in Universitas Indonesia 2 weeks ago. But I will give a hint on the third and fourth aspects. First one, Fashion. Fashion is explored. China's first 3 historical expeditions. If we talk about expeditions, ones will come up with Chongho. Right? But it's not this period, in this period of time that I will analyze. Chongho is in 2021. Yeah. So the first 3 historical expedition is here, listed here. The first one in 589 to 220 BC. There is this Silk Route to Central Asia, the western part of China. That I'm going to pause here. Many cities across this Silk Route are also known as town in ancient literature. The second one is from 2006 BC to 2020, or in Han Dynasty. After the Han Dynasty collapsed, there is no government exists in China at that time. And then moved to Sui Dynasty before the Tang Dynasty. Sui Dynasty, 581 to 680, there is a record in the senior high school textbooks in Mandarin Chinese, said about it clearly that the socio-historical connection and its interaction between China and Malayan Peninsula at that time already began. Then continue in the third expedition of Tang Dynasty from 618 up to 970. So we have to collect this data, this chronological, investigate it, analyze it, make sense according to historical context, and use it as conjecture or as evidence. Now, let's move on to the actors, the routes, and the missions of the 3 first expeditions. The first one is Fashion. Fashion is a Buddhist monk. He went to the western part of China on a pilgrimage mission at the time of 589 to 200 BC. The second one is Tang Qian. Tang Qian is an emperor's envoy of Han Dynasty, Han Emperor. He also went on a cultural exchange missions to western part of China. So the mission is already different. And besides this, there are the Yangshu. Anyone have heard about the Yangshu? It's very well known these days. The book of Liang Dynasty from 502 to 557. It basically consists of 2. The first one is the history of the Liang Dynasty itself, that not last for long, only 55 years. And the second one is the description of countries located in eastern part of China. Guangdong, 2000 is the ancient, more or less like kilometer stories. The third one
by eating. These expeditions, he lived in 635 to 730. It was in Tang Dynasty period, 618 to 906. He's very small. He's also went to western part of China on a pilgrimage missions. This map showed his route from China to Sumatran Island and went to sail into all the western part, basically India. From this book, Nusantara's traditional ships, we can see that sailed in the western part of China by sailed ships of Srivijaya Kingdom. Ships of Srivijaya Kingdom on or belong to Srivijaya's kings, the Punta Hyang Srivijaya Nasa in 7th century, was originated from 631, found in Samirjo, several kilometers away from Palembang city. They are respected for their ability in ensuring the safety of other countries' traders, including pilgrimage, who will trade and trespass into Srivijaya territorial areas. So the core is, in the third expeditions, China already has access to the southern seashore. Any one of you who learn Mandarin will know these characters. Zhou and Zhou is almost the same. But the difference is these three drops of characters. Three drops characters. That means this one is the internal one, part of the prefecture, and this one is the intercontinental one. It's outside the seashore. So that's the difference. Now let's take a look at on the Srivijaya Kingdom again. It's an empire, has 4 kings. Based on the data, it was a Malay-speaking Buddhist kingdom. It controlling waterways between the Indian Ocean and South China Sea within territories of 900 square parasangs, or the ancient Iranian Persian unit, more or less 5,400 kilometers square. Rules over a large number of islands over a distance of 6,000 kilometers, or more than 40 centimeters from sea river on land. It conducted international trade routes with China in the northeast and India in the northwest. It also conducted local trade routes with Sumatra, Java, Madura, above the Bali Sea, and also with Malayan Peninsula. Srivijaya's territorial map and sea territorial areas, including Natuna Islands and sea, which only 12 centimeters away from Sea River on the map. So it less than 40 centimeters. Natuna was known as Tujuh Archipelago, including Badas Island, Mandarin Island, and Ambas Island. This is the socio-economy of those islands. The interactions happened between them at that time as a maritime trading islands located in the Riau Regency administrative area. Now, the The second aspect will give a name or bestow the name. Non-hydrota versus the non-hydro. Hydro is the one with this something it drops waters. And then also the Donlim or Tantantro versus the Nantoa. Based on sejarah wilayah perbatasan Kepulauan Natuna, the history of Natuna Island border areas, the name of Natuna itself is originated from 671, still in Sriwijaya and Tang Dynasty period, which at that time China's Mong Yi sailed through the sea to South China Sea. He then transited in big and small islands. The big island, called as Nantoa, Nan refers to island, Toa refers to bay. The Malay people called it as Natuna, not Nantoa, because we know in ancient Malay language serves as lingua franca amongst all tribes in Nusantara. Here we can see on the map the colored green belongs to Indonesia territories. Meanwhile, the white colored one belongs to the Dutch. According to Lingga-Jatik Agreement in 1946. From the Tang Dynasty up to 1946, that's the historical lines. A hint on the third and fourth aspects. Yeah. Taipa, explore. The first one is the cargo, because we know at the Tang Dynasty there is Tang San Cai ceramics, three-colored ceramics, which differs from the Ming and Qing Dynasties ceramics. The Ming and Qing Dynasty ceramics maybe only has two colors, white and just like the Dutch ceramics, almost the same but different. This is one of the cargo. And now we move to the mining ships, the fishing boats. It used already explored the roads, pipelines, and ports. So based on this Atlas Sejarah Indonesia, Atlas History of Indonesia, we know that not only from Tang Dynasty, but also up to 1747, 1895, there is already many data, evidence that can be used as a conjecture or evidence that Natuna Sea and Natuna Island were also included into Sriwijaya's regional map and territorial areas. Rights from Dutch East India Man lies at an undisclosed location in the South China Sea. It was believed by many authorities to be in sovereign Indonesian waters. Natuna Islands, located or became part of Riau Islands administrative regions, it was known as India Kingdom. The UK's Navy published two maps on Anambas Islands. The measurement is in 1893 was on 7 archipelago, including Natuna Islands, Anambas Islands, Pedas Islands, and Mandarin Islands. And so on and so forth. So as a conclusion, I've already mentioned the third and fourth aspect, the exploration and the administration have presented in details in Universitas of Indonesia. The second conclusion, and then next one, Angkos Tribunal. The third conclusion, 中方 China says 这些国家不算是威胁，也不算是敌人。So every region, every country put their sovereignty at the first place. China doesn't see countries in South China Sea as enemies or rivals. But then, today's situation is quite different because bilateral relations are intensified and continuously strengthened into interdependency existing. If we take a look at Huiguiqian, tracing back from the history, from the past, the Sriwijaya collapsed due to several factors. One of them is because of the pirates, handout, strolling around their territories and waters, and then they collapsed. And then the very last one, Chanwangwelai, going forward in 2050, facing those challenges, scarcity of energies, livestock, crops, pure water. That's the most important thing that we will face in the future, as predicted by many scholars and breakdown news. So with that, I would like to conclude once again with a saying from the distinguished figure or the thinker himself. No writers nor artists can accurately reconstruct what has happened in the past, but they have the duty to tell the truth about history and let the people know what are the most valuable information. That's what I have already explained, elaborate, is what the past may have been like. Thank you. Any questions?
So I got a question regarding the regional disputes between in like Indonesian water, like you said, the Natuna water. Like in regard of that, like Chinese vessel always coming like inwards to our region. Like, what do you think like is like the main roots of the problem regarding that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. But before we give the chance to Adinda again, can I ask any other questions from you? Any? Nima, do you want to say something? I can read your mind. You're going to ask.
One by one.
Okay, one by one. Okay. Once again, we give our I believe I made a mistake because what she did was not really sociology, but it's more about our like people study. And for me, this is one of the interesting thing that me, right? I believe that there are a lot of research because we now learned how we can study the international, relations between countries, between Indonesia and China from history, historical point of view. Is that right? Let us take some questions. Actually, I myself have a lot of questions, but I have to. Because it's your. Yes, Ardio first. Okay, Ardio first. Did you say something? And Kayla, was it the same that you listened? No, different. It's the same. More or less. You want to ask question? Okay. Ardio, Putri, any other question? No? Putri, you want to ask something? Oh, no. Yeah, I'm not sure. James, do you want me to give it to you? What? The chance to ask questions. Ardia? When? You want to ask questions? Okay. Let me give the first chance to
Terima kasih. Thank you for the questions. Yeah.
we only open to 3 questions only. So, the first one from Ayo. Ayo. The main roots of the problems. I have to reiterate it first that the socio-historical approach is basically we have to analyze it through historiography. Yeah? But then if we focus on the socio itself, then the emphasis is on the social interactions between them. Yeah, between the pilgrimage, between the traders, between the envoys, at the period of time, Tang and Sriwijaya. And it's indispensable with the economy aspect, how they fulfill their daily necessities. Socio-economy, it's interrelated, cannot be separated. So basically it's clear, very clear in these 3 expeditions, yeah, from Faxian, Changqian, and also Yizhen. They're already, as we know, China used to be called as a curtain bamboo, right? It's very close. But from this very ancient time, they already have these interactions, expeditions, not only Chenghe or Chengho. Yeah. So it's very clear. The first one, Faxian, the second one, Changqian, the third one, Yizhen. None of them, except for Yizhen, trespass the Sriwijaya, the southern seashore. It's only the access, because it's like nowadays we call it as transit to India, to western part of China, because of the pilgrimage mission as a Buddhist, right? If we talk about Tarumanagara is a Hindus kingdom. So the very first contact is in the Sriwijaya kingdom era, which is Yizhen, the expedition by Yizhen. I'm not sure whether China has a Hindus pilgrimage at the time. I don't think so. But Buddhist, yes. And even there are so many expeditions by Buddhist monks to Japan at that time. Okay, so the main problems here it is. The main problem is about the economic sphere, the second circle. South Sumatra within Eastern Asia. The first one is the zone of direct control. The second one is the sphere of economic influences. The third one is major international trading partners. It's larger. But the tension has happened here. What's happened here, right? Always happened here. So these 5 sectors is the main root. If I could say, after I analyze it through the data, the chronology, and the evidence, these 5 is the causes. Any more questions?
Okay, Viva.
Or just now you said that you lived in China for 9 years. Can you describe us how China has sort of changed, whether it be through a cultural lens, a political lens, economic lens, in your time there, and compare it now, both the good and the bad?
Thank you. Bima, right.
The first question, yeah, Bima. Have you been to China?
No.
Not yet. Okay. Hopefully you will have the opportunity to go there to see by yourself, because seeing is believing, right? I haven't been yet. 9 years in China, yeah.
I've spent more than 9 years. Okay. So your question is about the cultural, economic, and political lens to see China. According this lens, says, is it good or bad?
There must be both sides. There must be a good and a bad. Can you like tell the both?
It's a very diverse one. I think we can discuss about it later after the class because it's quite out of scope of today's presentation, a study on Nusantara's kingdoms and China's dynasty socio-historical approach. It's more like kingdoms and dynasties.
How about anecdotally? So from your eyes, from your perspective.
Yeah, I think it's better if we talk about it off cam and after the class. Thank you for the question anyway, it's a good question, it's a very diverse one.
Thank you.
Any other? One
any
more
other question?
perhaps?
Yeah. What is it called? Historiography? Is that what it's? Okay, so basically this aspect is very deeply rooted into China, philosophically and culturally. But then, even though Indonesia is a part of the East, what makes it different from China and Indonesia, and how we see a certain respect to the culture, to respect philosophies and historiography in the society of China, and how can they respect the deeply rooted philosophy as much as they do, and why can't we, Indonesia, do so? What makes it different?
Please identify your name first and your hobby perhaps.
And my what?
Your hobby. Your high school. So
my name is Jeremiah, and I'm from UPH College. UPH College.
oh, UPH College, Jeremiah. Okay. It's a very deep question. Basically, you asked about why Indonesia, we as an Indonesian, cannot do the same in the realm of philosophy and historical. Yeah. Because as an Indonesian, back then when I was very young, in high school, senior high school, I only study history for getting good grades, only for that. Yeah, it's quite different, the culture is quite different with the Western. And you said about the philosophy in ancient China as the Eastern countries. What's interesting is that one of the scholars, Nisbet, he mentioned about the dichotomy of Easterns and Westerners. Easterners and Westerners. Actually, the world is not only divided into Easterners and Westerners. There are so many aspects, right? And Easterners is not only consists of China merely. There are also Japanese, Koreans, and Indonesian can be classified as Easterners or not. Nisbet, they mentioned about it. But then again, he mentioned that the Easterners has this tendency of trends, past, present, future as the historical cycles, versus, or meanwhile, the Westerners always see it as the linear lines, past, present, and future progress without any reoccurrences. Which one is the truth? Interestingly, Westerner historians, Arnold Toynbee, said that history could reoccur in some ways and sometimes. He, as a Westerner, has this historical cycle philosophy, right? So I don't think it's matter. But the thing that is very important is this: histories are told. whenever or when yesterday we forget and we only live at the moment for this moment and we don't even have plan for tomorrow or in the future, then time is the tyrant. Therefore, I have to be told about my country's history so that they will know about the maritime trading historical histories. This is the most important thing, in my opinion, as a diplomat and sinologist. I think that's all. Thank you for the 3 good questions. If there is any more further questions, feel free to email me, WhatsApp me, YouTube, TikTok, and IG. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, can I give you conclusion? Can I conclude? No, I cannot. So, the Chinese, how do you call it? The Chinese stance, Chinese narrative is that they have already owned this area since the past 4 wars. The Chinese, do they argue that they already have this area Natuna and South China Sea because they were there? Is that what Mr. President is saying? Is that yeah?
Only one question.
Huh?
Any more?
No, yes, something like concluding question. What is actually the Chinese stance? It is interesting, and I think many Indonesians perhaps are not really clear what China wants to say. Right?
So,
It's very interesting.
yeah.
Yes.
To restate it again, from this website, official website, it said that 最早的 gamma, there are 4 verbs, 发现, 命名, 开发, 管辖. Yeah. And this also reiterated by 11 ambassadors. One of them, even in Eritrea of East Africa, gave lecture in front of the international law students and faculty academicians. The point is almost the same. 是领土及其附近海域无可争辩的主权，2000多年的历史。Same, because yeah, we know if a political statement cannot be contradictory, right? But then, interestingly, this textbook for senior high school compulsory education in 2019 curriculum, based on the Ministry of Education, China's Ministry of Education, published by them, has a contradiction. Yeah. So, the problem is always this traditional fishing tension, the tension only. For only one ship compared to other countries' ships. Yeah. Why is that so? Because the Indonesian government said is against the claim, should be based on international law, criticize part of the claim, and not same as South China Sea, not same as the 9-dash line. It's a bilateral one. Yeah. So, to conclude, and my conclusion, the second conclusion, 公说公有理，婆说婆有理. Yeah, sovereignty is the first place. But then what? What's next? UNCLOS tribunal? My further conclusion, 回顾以前，展望未来. Lesson learned from the Tang Dynasties. Collapsed because of the Haidao, pirates strolling around its territorial waters. And what about 2050? There are different challenges we are facing together.
Those are the questions for us all. I think this also in line with this. The distinguished figure and thinkers say, no writers, no artists can accurately reconstruct. Yeah. But the truth about history and the variable in the tradition should be told by this data chronological. Analyze it as a conjecture or evidence for the future generations. I think that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the class is finished for now, but this is a very interesting topic, and I think we are now going to listen, to read more about these topics in the newspapers, right? Because last Friday, I think another Coast Guard from China came to the Natassa Islands, and there are some issues with our Coast Guard. Okay, thank you so much. Sampai jumpa. Next week kita onsite online. I would like to be onsite every time.
Jeremiah and I will talk about your